Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caroline and today I'm answering the question, am I a victim or am I not a victim? I often hear people say about people with illness, people with trauma and so on, that they are playing the victim. Stop playing the victim and do something about your situation. Take responsibility, blah, 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 blah. And I was curious to find out, us with illness, right? Are we actually victims or are we not, according to the definition? Or are we just pretending to be? Are we playing the victims? So I actually looked up, and I have to get my computer in order to read it to you guys, but I found the definition of a victim, and I found it from a very credible source. I found it from the Cambridge University. They have a site that is called dictionary.cambridge.org, and I was thinking, okay, that's a reliable source, right, to find out what is the definition of a victim. And I am going to read that definition as it says on their website. So I quote: a victim, someone or something that has been hurt, damaged, or killed, or has suffered either because of the actions of someone or something else, or because of illness or chance. So, you know, the short answer to the big question, am I a victim? Yes, I am, because I have suffered and I still suffer because of my illnesses, and that's what it said, right? Hurt, damaged, suffered, and due to illness was one of them. So yes, all of us out there with chronic illnesses, we are by definition victims. And I don't see a lot of people in the chronic illness community playing the victim. I really don't. I think that's an idea some healthy, abled people have. I would say, when you're playing the victim, like what does it mean to be playing the victim? That's a really good question, because sometimes we do see people where we're like, okay, playing the victim, right? And we want to say to them, get up and do something about it. And I think that's a part of that is true, but it's also just so heartless in a way. Because if people are, and we are victims, right? So if anyone is ever going to tell you you're playing the victim, you can say, no, according to the dictionary, I am actually a victim. If you look up the definition of the victim, I am one. But I think some people who are true victims, who actually are in definition victims, there are those who maybe feel a little bit too comfortable with being the victim, where they are kind of enjoying the empathy, the compassion from other people, and they kind of get stuck in that victim role. It's not the same as they are like abusing the victim role, but I think some people get too comfortable there, and it can be hard for them to get up and do something about their situation, because it's just so comfortable being the victim and everybody feeling sorry for you. So it's a fine line, right? So are there people out there where it's like, stop playing the victim and take responsibility for your life? Of course. But I don't think necessarily that you can be a victim without playing the victim, if you know what I mean. So I'm a victim of illness. I am. And a lot of you watching out there are probably also victims due to illness. But I'm not walking around playing the victim. I have taken, and this is what I generally see among people with chronic illness, right? We take a huge responsibility for our health, especially because the healthcare system, at least in the Western world, is not very holistic. So there's a lot of things we have to figure out for ourselves. We have to figure out how to adapt our lifestyle according to our illnesses so that we can live, you know, just quite well. We have to figure out, you know, our sleep patterns. We have to figure out if there's any substitutes we need to take. There's a lot of things we have to do. How many hours can I work? Can I even work? There's just so much that we take responsibility for. I would say the only thing my doctors are taking responsibility for is basically getting me diagnosed, and then obviously my treatment for that specific illness, but they are not taking responsibility for how I should live my life so that I can get the best quality of life as possible with my illnesses. That's all something I have to figure out, right? And a lot of people with chronic illness go through that. It's like you get sick, and you're often very sick when you get diagnosed. And then if you're lucky enough to get diagnosed, you get treated. And then once the treatment starts kicking in, you realize that you are very much left on your own, right? So you have this time where you're just really, really sick. Then you have a shock period where it's like, so you're just gonna send me home and let me figure everything out myself? And then you start taking charge because you have to, right? We are completely forced to. So I don't see chronic ill people playing victims at all in any kind of way. I think a lot of people also misunderstand this whole playing victim thing. It's like, then we share our stories on YouTube, Instagram, wherever we are sharing them, right? And people are like, oh, you're playing the victim. Like, no, I'm not playing the victim. I am telling the world what this is like. I'm creating awareness. I'm not trying to get attention. I'm not trying to get your empathy. I am trying to give you a wake-up call to what life with chronic illness actually is. So, you know, people with chronic illness, we're not playing victims when we complain. If let's say I'm having a flare in my Crohn's and I have severe bowel pain, and I make a video for you guys to see how that looks when I'm in that much pain, I'm not doing it because I'm playing the victim. I'm not doing it because I want somebody to come in and be my hero and save me and, you know, whatever. I'm not attention seeking. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because it's so raw and it's so real. And it's so important that people out there understand how bad that actually is. Both people who are experiencing the same thing, so they know they're not alone. This is also how it happens to me. They understand it's not just them. They actually are feeling the pain. And also people who are healthy and able, that they can see how bad it actually is to be sick, because healthy and able people only see us when we are at our best, not when we are at our worst, right? Because we are at home hiding away when we are at our worst, or we are admitted to the hospital. So I don't see chronic illness people playing victims. The people who are playing victims are very rare people who are victims. In my opinion, it's kind of, and this is just my opinion, I don't have any statistic or anything on this, right? But as I see it, every time I see someone where I'm like, wow, they're really playing the victim, it's always someone where I'm thinking, literally nothing happened to you. Literally. We have all seen people in the media complaining about something where it's like, you're not a victim. We have all seen them. We have all seen people where it's like, are you seriously right now? Is that really the biggest problem you have? I will never forget all the people who claimed that they almost died because they had to wear a mask when they went shopping during lockdown for like 5 minutes. And it was like, no, you're not a victim. The people on life support because of this stupid virus, those are the ones who are the victims. You're not a victim for wearing a mask. You are being told to be careful and take care of people around you. That's not being a victim. Please don't take something and make you the victim when there are other people who are actually victims here. I don't ever see people who by definition are victims. I never see them play the victim. They are often incredibly strong people because they have to. And they often take a lot of responsibility for their lives. And the people where you can say they are victims and they're not taking responsibility for their life and they're kind of like playing into the role of being the victim, it's often because they have a mental illness. It's often because they have depression or something, not because that's who they are and they're just playing the victim. It's because they're actually sick. They have a mental illness that makes them play that role, so to speak. It's so for me, when I see people who, about definition, victims, they are often very strong and they often take a lot of responsibility as well as they can. The people who take on the victim role is often people who are not victims. It's often narcissistic people. This video was just a really short video about, you know, the definition of being a victim. So if anyone is ever gonna say to you, you're playing the victim, you can say, you know what, by definition, I actually am a victim. Look it up. And don't let anyone shame you into feeling like you're playing the victim, because being sick and making people aware that you're sick, asking for help, showing the world what it looks like to have a Crohn's flare or a fibro flare or endo flare or whatever is not playing the victim. It's just not. In my opinion, the chronic illness community, we are really, really strong and really, really badass, and we are definitely not playing the victim. You should see healthy people have a cold talk about playing the victim. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it made sense. I was just really, really sick of hearing people say to people with chronic illness or in any other type of victim situation where they're like, you are playing the victim, right? I'm like, shut the beep up. And I looked it up and the definition is, when you're chronically ill, you actually are a victim. And so don't let anyone shame you. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're playing the victim and that you should shut up and hide all your symptoms and all that kind of stuff, because you are a victim and you are allowed to show the world that you are a victim and create awareness. You are allowed to ask for help. You are allowed to set boundaries because of your illness. And let's face it, you are a strong, badass, capable person. And that's just it. See you next time right here on my channel, The Art of Being Ill.